Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the Absolutely Studying podcast, your go-to destination for all things time management, productivity, and the taming of the academic whirlwind. I'm Terrell Celeste. I'm here to be your guide, and it is an absolute pleasure to have you join me on today's journey to delve into the calming oasis we will create to cultivate focus in a hectic schedule. The world around us constantly moves at breakneck speed. And amid all of this hustle and bustle, it's no wonder we find ourselves lost in the whirlwind, desperately seeking to center ourselves and unlock the focus in the midst of chaos. In today's episode, we're going to dive into this topic of cultivating focus, even despite all of the hectic life that we have to live trying to pursue our post-secondary education. We're going to talk a little bit about mindfulness. We're going to talk a lot about some tactics and some tricks to make sure that you do not overwhelm yourself and that you set yourself up with the best tools possible to have the best focus available. So again, before we end off somewhere in left field, let's just get started. Okay, so let's just talk about mindfulness first, because this is the area that I struggle with most. Mindfulness can be really great for promoting focus if you are able to do it. I'm one of those people who constantly have 1,000 things going through my brain, and so I try really hard, and that is an area that I wholeheartedly struggle with. Clearing your mind, being able to calm those thoughts, that is something that is still, despite the fact that I do really try and exercise that muscle and work on that technique, it's something that I really struggle with. If you are good at mindfulness, if you are one of those people who can just clear your mind and let all of those intrusive thoughts fall by the wayside, let me know what your secret is, because it's something that I constantly have to work at. By clearing your mind, you are essentially being able to calm those thoughts, calm those intrusive thoughts, put them on the back burner, and just be able to focus. Again, I'm not going to go too deep into this here. Maybe we will do some more vlog style content about my journey through mindfulness, but it's one of those things for me that is like, oh yeah, just do it. Just clear your mind. But if I was able to just clear my mind, I wouldn't be making an entire video about focusing in a hectic life. So I wanted to get that big elephant out of the room, put it aside. I am acknowledging it. It's something that I struggle with. So if you also struggle with it, you need a plan to actively force yourself to focus like I do. And so that's what I really wanted to get into, because yes, mindfulness is nice. Mindfulness is the aspirational goal, to just be able to quiet all of that noise inside your head and focus. But not all of us are there. When you do have all of those hectic thoughts, hectic intrusive thoughts, one thing I do to try and clear them and just stop and recenter myself and get focused is just a couple of deep breathing exercises. So when I do get too focused, when I do get a little bit too elevated, I like to just close my eyes and have a couple of deep, soothing breaths. There are some techniques to breathing, and I'm going to go through two of them super quick. They give you differing effects depending on which one you do. So when you are doing this deep breathing exercise and you're taking 3 to 5 deep breaths, just as a transition between tasks, I like to do this generally. If you are going to transition to something where you need more energy, have your exhales shorter than your inhales. It's going to help bring all of that good oxygen to your brain, and it's going to help to boost your energy. So maybe do a 5 or 6 second inhale and then a 3 second exhale. However, the opposite is true if you're trying to calm down. If you're trying to calm down, you really want to extend that exhale. So that exhale is going to be 7 or 8 seconds and have the inhale be only 2 or 3 seconds. By doing that, you are pushing out a little bit of that stress. You're pushing out a little bit of that tension. And that is just a one super, super simple breathing exercise that I learned that kind of helps me to have a little bit more control over how I feel and my energy level as I transition between events. So I might have been really, really elevated. I might be really, really busy. My brain might be in complete chaos, and I just have a nice long exhale breath before I start my next task or I start my next assignment or a study session. Or if I am kind of feeling a slump, I will have a couple of energetic breaths as I transition into the next task. And that can sometimes help me to boost a little bit of my mood. My next technique to promote this focus in daily life is to keep a pen and paper available at all times. I keep a notebook in my bag, it's a little journal, and I write down all of the intrusive thoughts that pop into my mind. So some of them are tasks that I need to add to my to-do list. Some of them are great product ideas or offerings that I want to do for one of my businesses. Sometimes it is a live or a video idea, and sometimes it's something that I want to add or edit out of one of my assignments. Going through and writing all of these things down helps in a couple of ways. First, it gets the thought out of your head. It gets it down on paper where it's safe. You're not going to forget it. You don't have to hold on to it with all your might, and you can move on and focus on what it is you're trying to get done. The next thing it's going to do, it's going to reduce a little bit of that anxiety. So instead of being anxious about forgetting it, instead of anxious about not being able to focus, instead of being anxious about getting that task done, you've written it down. It's real. It's not going to be lost because it's in your handy dandy notebook. And you're going to be able to go back and review these things and edit them later. This works for tasks. This works for things you forgot. This even works for intrusive thoughts that are just circling around in your head. If you are worried about thoughts that are anxious and that are just kind of taking up brain space, you can write them down, even if they're not actionable. Then later on, as you go through them, will acknowledge them and rip them out of your notebook or cross them off your notebook. And it's really, really actually therapeutic to be able to do that, especially if it is one of those kind of intrusive, anxious thoughts that don't have any real bearing or action on your life, but you just can't help but to allow them to swirl around during your lecture or during your study session. So writing those down, putting them into that notebook, and then going through and scratching them out or ripping them out and dealing with them later is so incredibly helpful. From another standpoint, whether it is academic or business, it's also great because you have this repository of all these amazing ideas that you had and forgot. For me, I love pulling out these notebooks periodically. I have a bunch of them in the bottom drawer of my desk, and I'll go through, especially when I need a little bit of inspiration for either a research project or sometimes an actual product for one of my businesses. And I can go through and I can look at all of these crazy ideas that I had that I've forgotten about, and now I can try and bring them to life. Another great thing is to be able to sometimes micro journal. I love the idea of journaling and being able to immortalize your progress and your thoughts and your life along the way. But I've never been great at actually sitting down with consistency and writing about my day for 25 or 30 minutes. So being able to have those thoughts, write down and almost micro journal what you're doing or how you're thinking or what's going on in your day in just a couple of sentences is a great idea as well. You can also do that inside your scrappy notebook, or you can take a separate notebook and start with a line a day. And that is another really great practice to try and go in and get a little bit more clarity in your life and in your mind and help you to soothe those thoughts going through and not necessarily journaling But having a micro journal where you write 1 or 2 sentences a day or about your day or your affirmation during the day or your goals for the day is going to be really, really helpful in calming your thoughts. And it's really nice to be able to have that to look back on as you progress through the years and you can see how much of a nervous wreck you were in the first year compared to when you are graduating as a confident student in the fourth year. Now, when we are trying to refuel this focus, there is one thing that I cannot forget to mention, and that is just taking breaks. So, whether you are using the Pomodoro method, which calls for 25 minutes of focus, split up by 5 minutes of rest over the course of 4 sessions, and then after the fourth session, you get a longer 20-minute session to rest and refuel and recharge. And that's how you are able to spend essentially 2 hours of deep focus and concentration because you are splitting it up with those 5-minute blocks. But also being able to take the time out and have time set aside daily, weekly, monthly, where you are not forcing productivity, where you have maybe nighttime routine that helps you to incorporate a little bit of self-care in your day that is stopping you from being so stressed, so overwhelmed, and so overburdened by all of the productivity that you're trying to squish in. That's going to help you to recharge those batteries and refuel going forward. Being able to have a block of time, whether it's an hour or 15 minutes or whatever, throughout the day, to be able to spend that just procrastinating, having a 30-minute block in your day where you promise yourself, I'm going to spend this time procrastinating. Maybe you are eating lunch while you are scrolling through TikTok. Maybe you are just spending it zoning out on the couch. Whatever you like to do to procrastinate, set time aside, intentional time aside, to be able to use that and give your brain a rest and recharge and refuel. We don't want to fall into this rat race of toxic productivity where you are not any time for yourself and you're just running and getting all of this stuff done. Instead, make sure that you are balancing all of focus time with time to recharge. So whether that's taking 5-minute breaks throughout your focus intervals using the Pomodoro technique, or going through and actually scheduling time throughout your day for self-care or socialization so that you have that time to rest your brain and not have to focus really hard all the time. But there we go. That's it. These are just a couple of simple techniques that you can start right now and you can implement into your day right now that are going to help to really take back some of that focus, take back some of the hectic brain space, and actually get a little bit more out of focus by actually practicing some techniques that will allow you to refuel. That brings us to the end of our series this month. We have been going through time management techniques that are going to help busy students in the back to school season. Now, it's been a month since school has started, and it is already the eve of midterm season. I don't know how October seems to come so much faster in the fall semester than January and February in the winter semester. Somehow getting through January to February seems so much longer than it does getting through September to October midterm season. But I'm going to be talking a little bit about prioritizing self-care during midterms. So if you feel like this episode just got you started, don't worry. This is a gorgeous transitional episode to get us ready for you to take care of yourself during midterm season. We're going to be talking about how to study, how to balance your study sessions and study efficiently so that you can prioritize some healthcare and some healthy choices, both physically and mentally, that are going to help you to refuel yourself and keep you working at optimal level again so that you can achieve that efficiency and get the most out of your life and your time and your university experience. So thank you for listening. If you have a friend who's also living that post-secondary struggle and you think that this video would help them out, make sure to share with them. Subscribe so that you don't miss next week's episode about prioritizing yourself and your needs and your self-care and being able to balance that with a busy study schedule for midterms. And let me know that you liked this topic. But that's all for today. I will see you next week. And until then, I hope you have an amazing adventure.